Have you seen this about all of these as ever products being given away to Netflix employees by the VAT load? This is hysterical. Jars of Meghan Markle's unsold jam overflowing at Netflix HQ, literally giving it away. Okay. Yeah, I'm glad that they're calling him out, and I hope they do make an example of him. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? But I can tell you this, if Met Police does decide to go forward with this investigation, something more than what we're seeing now is going to have to come out of Buckingham Palace, because what we're seeing right now is completely freaking ridiculous. It seems like Charles, God love him. I know the man has cancer. I know he waited forever to ascend, but all I can say at this point is too bad, so sad. Apparently, it's a very dark area. There's not that many streetlights. It just looks like that kind of barren desert landscape. And it's like these big lots with these homes on them, and they're kind of scattered all around. And when I was looking at those aerial shots of the neighborhood, it reminded me of the neighborhood that Jody Hildebrand lived in. That whole Ruby Frankie garbage nonsense. Like those types of weird, isolated desert neighborhoods. Why was Nancy, an 84-year-old woman with mobility issues, living alone out there in a neighborhood like that? I just read this story this morning, and I'm like, as soon as my kids walk in the door today after school, I'm going to show them the pictures and the news stories about this and be like, don't get any ideas. Don't you ever get any ideas. If you hear people talking about this at school, do not do this. Like, do not do this. It's crazy. It's just one more thing to worry about. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jennifer. So happy to have you on one of our coffee and tea chats. I hope you have a refreshing beverage with you on this fine winter day, no matter where you are. If it's tea, if it's coffee, if it's an adult beverage, a glass of water, I'm just happy you're here because we have so much to talk about. And I'm just happy to have one of my favorite mugs, my Han Solo Chewbacca mug. Want to hear a funny story about this mug? So probably 6 months ago now on the channel, I was drinking a tasty bev out of this mug, filming a video, and someone in my comments said to me, how can you be a Christian and hold a mug with a man holding a gun on it? And I was like, it's Han Solo, y'all. It's a fictional movie character, and it's from the animation cartoon on the mug here. Like, this is not real. Cool your jets. Okay. I mean, 99.9% of the comments I get from you guys are awesome. I love them. Every once in a while, you get a loon up in there, and you're just like, okay. I just need to relax and take a sip. So yeah, we've got a lot to talk about today, because speaking of loons, we got to talk about the artist formerly known as Prince Andrew, okay? This seemingly unrepentant goon of a man who has done nothing but bring a dark cloud of shame over the British royal family of late. The pile and the torrent of unrelenting stories that have been raining down on this man for the last few months, I mean, rightly so, okay? Aptly deserved, for sure. It's like you see pictures of him recently out riding with his little riding helmet on, his big fat face stuck up under that thing with his tongue out. Look, and I'm like, what a goon, what a fool. Go back in your house, okay? He's out there and he wants to be photographed. I mean, how convenient, right? That there's someone on the estate where he's like huddled up, hiding, out taking a picture of him riding, I mean, what a fool. It's like my mom always says, no fool like an old fool. But anyway, so what I wanted to talk about was all this Epstein file stuff, because there's just a lot to talk about. And I just wanted to break it down, okay? First of all, as this all relates to the newly released Epstein files. Now, everyone kind of got their, in a bunch, because they're thinking, oh, like there's new things, there's new stuff out, like what's going on? And it's not so much that it's new, although there is a new claim that supposedly the Met Police is reviewing as we speak. So we'll get to that. But when you're talking about the files, this file dump that was released on January 30th, This was in compliance with the Epstein Files Transparency Act that Trump signed into law in November 2025. So that's what the DOJ has done. They've released this, albeit late, a little bit over 30 days late, I believe, but they've released them in compliance with this act that Trump signed, okay? And this act had unprecedented support in the United States on both sides of the political aisle. Everyone was putting a lot of pressure on Trump to go ahead and sign this act into law. So that's what he did. And what we have now are over 3.5 million pages, 2,000 new videos, and 180,000 new images, including that disgusting one that's been floating all over the media in the past week, showing a just bloated and grotesque Andrew leaning over the body of what appears to be a fairly young girl who's laying on the floor, and her face is blacked out. But you don't know if she's awake, if she's unconscious, like what's happening. I've heard a couple of people saying that we don't know if it's consensual. We don't know what's going on. I don't care about any of that. I think it still looks gross and disgusting. Of course it looks gross and disgusting. That's why everyone's talking about it the way that they are. So you've got all these statements, you've got all this internal DOJ communication, you've got all these new videos, all these new pictures, and there's also tons of redacted information in all of these new files. And that's been sparking a lot of criticism as well. People are saying, why are so many significant portions redacted? That's fairly easy to answer when you consider that oftentimes if there are people giving witness statements who are deemed to have not done any wrongdoing, their names are going to be redacted for security and privacy reasons. Also, if there could be anything interfering with an active ongoing investigation related to a certain allegation or claim revealed in the Epstein files, then that wouldn't be released and that would be hidden and be redacted as well. So there is technically a reason why there's a lot of things in there that are redacted, but it still doesn't do much to bolster public confidence. People kind of get really ticked off because on one hand, it's supposed to be a transparency act, but then on the other, there's a lot of things that are just blacked out, not made clear, or just not revealed at all. But the thing that's got everybody up in arms now is that as of this past week, early February 2026, there are new claims from a woman who is alleging that she was trafficked by Epstein to Andrew on Royal Palace grounds at Royal Lodge in 2010. And there's also points to, I don't know if it's the same woman or a different woman, also being trafficked to an address in Windsor in the same year. So even before these past few days, when the media started reporting on these new claims, you had all this pressure on Andrew coming from a lot of different places, not only the US DOJ, but you have Keir Starmer now putting political pressure on Andrew, telling him, you need to comply with law enforcement, you need to be answering questions. Basically, you need to be cooperating in this ongoing investigation. And there have long been calls from the US DOJ to get him to testify to a US House Oversight Committee. And not only that, but spokespeople from the DOJ have said repeatedly over the years that Andrew has absolutely done zero to comply with the DOJ. Anytime they've tried to subpoena him, anytime they've tried to interview him, anything that they've done to try to get some type of compliance or answers from Andrew, they've been met with radio silence or they'll just get written statements from him. But he's basically been refusing for years to be interviewed or to testify before Congress. And I find all this very interesting, yet also very disgusting. We all remember in that disaster train wreck of an interview that he gave Andrew in November 2019, he said in that interview that he would, be happy to comply and assist law enforcement in any investigations. He hasn't done that. He hasn't done one damn thing to aid law enforcement on either side of the Atlantic in investigating anything having to do with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, while he himself obviously hasn't been convicted of a crime, he's been implicated. There is enough internal evidence in all of this that he maintained a very close and personal sleazy relationship with Epstein over the years. And it's that guilt by association that is propelling law enforcement to say, hey, why don't you talk to us? If you do indeed support victims, then why aren't you helping us investigate these crimes? And even though Epstein is dead, all of this stuff is still ongoing. All of these claims are still ongoing investigations. And Andrew doesn't really care. He doesn't care. We all know who he's out for. He's out for himself. That's why he hasn't cooperated with anybody. But think about it. There are a lot of things that could jeopardize his safety and his position if he did, say, comply with the DOJ, right? What if he was subpoenaed and went on U.S. soil to testify? It wouldn't be a good situation for Andrew. Let's put it that way. If he were to say, on U.S. soil, testify before a grand jury, or give an FBI interview, if he perjured himself in any way, shape, or form, giving any type of statement as it pertains to any type of line of questioning, he could perjure himself and he could suffer penalties for making false statements under oath. That's a federal offense. So that's if he wanted to go over on U.S. soil and assist law enforcement over there. But even if, for example, he were to travel onto U.S. soil, he could be served a subpoena, which would legally compel him then to be seen in court, to give testimony, or to be in an office somewhere giving a deposition with federal law enforcement. So that would be even if he just traveled inadvertently to the US, just not even thinking that he would be involved in any questioning, he could be served a subpoena. So we're never going to see Andrew on American soil ever again. I can guarantee you that. Not only that, but I think it's becoming increasingly dangerous for him on UK soil too, because these new claims, the Met Police has said that they are reviewing whether or not they want to move forward with this. And I really think it's getting to the point now where public outcry is going to be deafening for Charles, and it's going to be deafening for Buckingham Palace, because the way that they are ignoring this, in my humble opinion, the way that they are towing the line on this is absolutely and utterly disgraceful. And I don't really think that I'm the only person who feels this strongly about it. And seriously, you think I'm kidding? Look at this short clip. This is Prince Edward at a government summit. And he got asked in the audience about the Andrew situation. And this was his response. And this is just completely indicative of this, I don't know what it is. I don't want to call it nonchalant attitude, but I don't understand exactly what he's talking about here. Is this supposed to be inferring that Andrew is also a victim in all this? It's so weird. And it can't be construed any other way as confusing. This is not a statement that means anything, in my opinion. This is something that could be completely avoidable if Prince Charles himself would issue a statement. But just watch this. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's infuriating.
But no, I think it's all really important always to remember the victims. And who are the victims in all this?
Absolutely.
A lot of victims in this.
No, I know.
Because all that's happening now with these new claims is, again, Charles is just deferring back to his statement that he released in October, the one that stripped Andrew of his princely title, stripped him of his HRH and all of his military honors. And Buckingham Palace really does think that that is going to be enough to appease the public in these matters. But unfortunately, it's not. He really does need to make a statement, a new, fresh statement now in 2026 regarding these matters, regarding what has been uncovered in these files. Now, when I first saw that picture of Andrew kneeling on all fours in front of that woman, I thought at first it didn't really look like him. But then the more I looked at the photo, the more I thought, it probably more than likely is him, albeit he looks very, very bloated. But then again, these people do a lot of hard partying and a lot of hard drinking, and that can bloat your face and your extremities. So in my opinion, it is him. But it's just, again, this lack of communication with the public, this never complain, never explain line that Charles is taking, I really think is going to be the undoing of his reign as monarch unless he acts and acts swiftly. And all the man has to do is release a statement basically speaking out against his brother in the harshest terms imaginable. And the harshest terms imaginable, what does that include? Okay, what it should include is compelling urging, or even, who knows, behind the scenes, ordering his brother to comply with law enforcement, both in the UK and in the United States. There is no going back for this man. There is no more riding out on your horse on palace grounds with your little helmet on, thinking that life is okay, but you're actually still kind of pissed at everyone around you because you can just see in his attitude, he really does feel like he's just being punished for no reason. And, in essence, like, what has he really, really lost? I mean, all he's really lost is the ability to travel freely and do things like serve as a trade envoy and get his big mug out there photographed and get the attention and all of the accolades that he feels that he deserves. But really, his day-to-day life, I mean, other than downsizing, everything is still being taken care of for this man. He still probably does not have to lift a finger in any way, shape, or form. I don't really believe some of those reports out there saying that, he doesn't have a maid and he doesn't have a cook and he doesn't have anything. I think that's a bunch of BS. I think that he is still taken care of. At the very, very least, the man has a housekeeper. What, do you think Andrew's going to start getting out the Comet and the Windex and start, cleaning around the house where he lives or in his bathroom or even cook for himself? It's like, give me a break. The man's still riding horses, okay, smiling like a schmucko. I don't think his life has changed one bit. I mean, if anything, you're not kind of free to roam outside the house and act like a buffoon, but it's still a party up in the house. You can still play video games all you want. You can still get your Uber Eats as much as you want, rent all the movies you want, do whatever. I mean, the man is just a buffoon. He's a privileged, entitled buffoon. And I am so grateful to Andrew Lowney for writing his book, for exposing this man. So yes, I really do feel that Charles needs to release a statement harshly condemning his brother. In my opinion, basically force his hand and tell him that he has to cooperate with law enforcement. Technically, can he make Andrew cooperate with law enforcement and assist them? Probably not. Andrew has demonstrated time and time again that he doesn't have two clues to rub together. He doesn't have common sense. He doesn't look at a situation and see, the deck is stacked against me. I should really do the right thing. I should do something. You can tell with people like that, they constantly play the victim. It's just class A narcissistic behavior. Everything that happens is something that's happening to them, not because of their actions. Also, in the last few weeks and months, there's been these kind of puff PR pieces that I feel are coming out of Buckingham Palace where they're basically talking about, Fergie and Andrew's mental health, the mental anguish that they've been going through, their mindset, how members of the royal households are worried about them. Fair enough. You can express those sentiments to those two fools behind the scenes as a family, but to put that out there only serves to really tick people off more, because I'm sorry, when I read something like that, I just feel that that's a blatant play on my sympathies. And the only thing I think of is I don't really care about how Andrew feels right now. I only care about what he does. He can feel all the live long day, whatever the way he feels about it. But what is important now is what he does, what he's doing, steps he's taking to rectify the situation. And as of right now, he's doing nothing but riding horses, playing video games, hiding out and acting like an idiot, in my opinion. So I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is like people are kind of insinuating that is the man on unalive watch or something. Like what could happen if Charles, say, forced his hand and said, either you comply with investigations or everything will be taken away, meaning, you cannot even live on royal grounds of any kind. Not that I ever think that would happen, but I don't know. This is all just a mess, but I'm tired of them trying to play on his anguish and his supposed anguish and our sympathies. And we should feel sympathetic surrounding his anguish. I don't care about Andrew. I really don't care. What I care about are all the people out there that were affected by these gross, disgusting men's behavior. Epstein, him, all of it. And there's even been people out there that are saying people like Andrew are just scapegoats for this type of behavior because there are so many prominent people that are unnamed or people that are in the public eye that did just as many egregious and horrible things as Andrew that are not being named, that are not being called out. Why is Andrew being the scapegoat? And to that I say, who cares? Who cares? The royal family is in such a privileged position. Yes, they're there by birthright and they don't get to choose being born into it, but being born into it, then you quickly realize as you mature or hopefully come to some type of reckoning as to what that position means and what is owed to the public in the way of service and just plain decency and respect to society as a whole. And when you abuse that office, when you abuse that title, and when you run around carrying on like you're your own demigod with no one to answer to, this kind of stuff happens. So yeah, I'm glad that they're calling him out and I hope they do make an example of him. Who the hell knows what's going to happen? But I can tell you this, if Met Police does decide to go forward with this investigation, something more than what we're seeing now is going to have to come out of Buckingham Palace because what we're seeing right now is completely freaking ridiculous. It seems like Charles, God love him. I know the man has cancer. I know he waited forever to ascend, but all I can say at this point is too bad, so sad. It seems to me like he's more gung-ho and passionate about promoting a film about the environment than he is about speaking out about victims of this type of trafficking and abuse and preserving his own family's good name and preserving the institution of the monarchy. It's just getting to the point now where everyone in that palace really needs to take a big fat drink of reality. And they need to realize that the only reason why they are in that position of wealth and privilege is because the people want them there. And as soon as the people decide that they don't want them there, it's not going to bode well for the family. Now, I'm not talking about, insurrection like what they did to Charles I or anything like that, but it's like, it's going to be the modern day equivalent of that. It's going to be just basically a taking down of the institution. And it's really sad because William and Catherine and their family, they don't deserve this. And Charles isn't doing anything to preserve their legacy. It's all just sad and so disgusting what Andrew is doing. And also, in my opinion, what Charles is doing to just prolong this agony. I'm getting so pissed off. I just need to relax. But it's not getting any better. I did a video about Andrew a few months back on my channel. I mean, I've talked about him before, but I had a whole video dedicated to him a few months back, right before that October 2025 statement when Charles stripped him of everything, including the princely title, which I am sure Andrew never thought for a second would ever get stripped from him. And I just was so disgusted with that man even back then. But now to know that more and more stuff is coming out, and trust me, there's probably so much out there that you and I will never see, that will never touch the light of day regarding Fergie and Andrew. I know you haven't even talked about Fergie in this video, but I mean, some of the stuff that was released in these files just this past week, I mean, the fawning emails that she wrote to Epstein, asking him to marry her and all this kind of stuff, and talking about her daughters with him. And it's come to light now that just a day after Epstein was released from prison, she was having him buy her and the girls plane tickets to go see him and have lunch with him and all this. I'm thinking to myself, how old were Beatrice and Eugenie at that point? Why would you even want your daughters around a convicted sex offender like that? It's so disgusting. And anyone who is even of the mindset to try to, Beatrice and Eugenie are trying to distance themselves from their parents. They shouldn't be at fault for the sins of their parents, all that. By all accounts, everything that I have seen Andrew Lowney, the author of Entitled, say about Eugenie and Beatrice regarding their involvement or being around what their parents were involved with, he seems to be of the mindset that they are no better, absolutely no better. They both ended up getting super, super rich husbands, didn't they? They both have been around all kinds of shady people themselves, albeit nothing has come in those files about them or anything like that. But, it's just been shown that they do have associations with those types of people as well. It's not a good look. So yeah, I don't care if people say that Andrew is a scapegoat. I mean, even the Clintons now aren't escaping the spotlight regarding this. They have now finally agreed and answered a Congress subpoena to testify. They had been putting it off for months and months and months, hiding behind their lawyers. But now they know that the gig is up and that they're going to have to be taken to task and answer for some of their associations as well. And personally, I can't wait for old Bill and Hill to get in front of Congress and answer some questions about Epstein. I mean, how many flights was old Bill on there in the Epstein flight logs? I mean, the guy made how many trips to that island? Because you know what? All these people and all this wickedness, all this rot needs to be brought out into the light to be aired out. Do I think that anything's going to happen to Bill and Hillary? No. Do I think that anything is going to happen to Andrew? Possibly. I think that if it comes down to preserving the monarchy or seeing Andrew sitting in a jail cell, it's going to get to the point where, you know, behind the scenes, William is looking his father dead in the eye and saying, if you want any of this preserved for my family and for future generations, you will act, you will speak out, and you will do something. And if public pressure gets to the point, and it's already at a feverish pitch in the UK, okay? So not a good look. None of this is a good look. But yeah, we just have to keep listening and reading and watching all of these updates and see what happens. Okay. I always do that. I always just look at you guys and laugh as if you were literally sitting there, and I'm laughing because I can't help it. I've got this article pulled up from page 6. Have you seen this? About all of these as ever products being given away to Netflix employees by the VAT load. This is hysterical. Jars of Meghan Markle's unsold jam overflowing at Netflix HQ, literally giving it away. Okay. Netflix staff are helping themselves to free as ever products as the streamer's LA offices are filled with Meghan Markle's wares, page 6 has learned. I love that word, wares. It reminds me of like a medieval peasant selling goods on a cart, you know, like, hear ye to the village. I'm selling pots and pans and these are my wares, come buy them. I mean, that's basically how she's selling them. But yeah, they've got jars of jam and candles and wine, and her famous, that's what they're calling it, famous flour sprinkles are being kept in storage rooms. And there's all this overstock, and these employees are just, you know, walking out of these storage rooms with 10, 12 items, all this stuff for free. And the counter narrative that's being pushed out there by Meghan and Harry's camp, it's hysterical because all these rags like Town and Country people, they're all coming out and they're saying that, oh no, this is what we call seeding marketing, where this stock was always intended for this purpose. It was always intended for gifting, because they looked at, you know, Netflix employees as being taste ambassadors, people that were going to go out and spread the wares, spread the message of the wonderful branding and products of this lifestyle, this as ever brand. And I'm thinking, that does not sound right. I mean, somebody at Netflix is planting and putting these stories out there, and it's not because she's well liked, okay? You don't hear this about other brands and other companies, okay? You don't hear about storage-filled rooms and buttloads of, say, unsold Kylie lip kits being given away for free and all this kind of garbage, right? No, you don't hear about that kind of stuff for other celebrity brands, or like Selena Gomez's makeup or her perfume or whatever it is she's, you know, peddling. You don't hear that. You only hear it when it's in regards to this woman. And there's a reason, because she's not well liked, because she's toxic and she's leaving a bad taste in everybody's mouth. Everyone that she's associated with, she leaves a bad taste in their mouth. So now you've got these people, probably these leakers at Netflix, who are like, this is hysterical. This is hysterical. We need to put this out there. Whenever you see these stories, there is always, even if it's not 100% true, there's still grains of truth in it. But where this woman is concerned, I'm more apt to believe that it's more than a grain, okay? It's more like a bucket full of truth in these stories. Because think about it, everything relating to this brand has been an absolute shit show fiasco, right? From her basically saying that first I'm American Riviera and now ha ha ha, joke's on you overnight. I'm now as ever. You've always been as ever. We're like, really? Really? Is that the case? Is that the case, Meg? Then why were you marketing this brand and this company for a whole year as American Riviera Orchard? Riddle me that, okay? Princess Markle, we don't understand. And then not only that, was it part of your strategy to have that little glitch on your website and inadvertently let us all know about this unsold inventory, right? No, but then she has to switch it and she has to switch gears and try to posture and tell us, well, it was such a success that I ordered, 1 million units and that's just what's left over from 1 million. Like I sold all that. It's like, this is such a clown show. This kind of stuff doesn't happen surrounding other brands. It just doesn't. This has all from start to finish been the biggest freaking circus. And it all comes down to the fact that she has no idea what she's doing. It's all haphazard. It's all mismanaged. And now all the stories are, she's taking it global. She's taking it global. I'm like, really? You're taking it global? Apparently your website doesn't even ship overseas to anything that's not the US. How can you take it global? To me, it just smells of a little Shopify account. It's like what a mom would do selling scarves or, homemade plushy toys out of her garage, selling on Etsy or making a from scratch Shopify account or something. I mean, this is all just so unbelievably ridiculous. I mean, I don't buy this garbage for a second. I don't buy it for a second. And I'm telling you, this German tea that I'm drinking from the supermarket here, I guarantee you, it's 1,000,000 times better than any crap that she's peddling on her website or even giving away for free at the Netflix offices. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, come on. Because if this brand really, really was a success, she would be shouting it from the rooftops at every opportunity. She would be giving us exact sales figures. She would be telling us about expansion plans, what stores she's going into, all this kind of stuff. She would be talking about, another season on Netflix. None of this is happening. None of this is happening because you have the name toxicity of a Meghan Markle. There is nowhere for it to go but down, unfortunately. And this is all a situation of her own making. This is what happens when you build your brand on trash talking your families, when you build your brand on perceived grievances and microaggressions, when you marry into the most privileged and famous family on the planet, but yet you use every opportunity to talk about what a marginalized victim you are. People don't like that crap. No one wants to buy your spread. What is it? Spread of lies. No one wants to buy your wine, your bubbly, your cup of hemlock. No one cares. So, I mean, I gotta say, a little bit, it's pretty tasty in the way of just desserts. But it is sad. It's sad on a human level. I mean, I don't like to see people completely flounder and fail like this over and over and over and over. But then again, it's like your chickens are coming to roost. You reap what you sow. And it's gotten to the point now where she can't even give this crap away to privileged employees working at Netflix who probably get everything under the sun for free. And people are bitter and people are probably pissed off and don't like her who have been working with her. And that's why this stuff is leaking out, because it's just people don't like this. People don't like liars and they don't like any of this. So do I believe this story? 100%. 100%. She's past her shelf life. She needs to go away and she needs to refresh herself. But don't refresh in the sense that you want to come back and rebrand yourself. No one cares about her 5 millionth rebrand at this point. We just want her to go away. And you know what? All that happens when people read stories like this is that it just brings a smile to their face. It's just like, just like a nice little chuckle in their day because they're all saying the same thing, couldn't happen to a nicer gal. It's like, that's just where we're at with Princess Markle. Can't wait for the latest update. I'm sure she'll be turning up somewhere at some charity event or some gala or giving us another interview talking about her new 2026 rebrand and what she's got going on. Because don't we have like a cookbook coming out soon? Yeah, we have a cookbook going to be coming out soon about how to replate veggies. So that one is going to be life-changing. Can't wait for that. But yeah, anyway, moving on. Okay, and the last story I want to talk to you guys about, this one is crazy and it's literally been updating every hour. So who the heck knows what is going to be out there by the time I get this thing uploaded to YouTube. But we've all seen it. Savannah Guthrie, who is one of the hosts of the Today Show, her mother has been missing and presumed kidnapped since January 31st. So going on 5 days now. She's an 84-year-old woman who was apparently taken from her home in the middle of the night. And she lived out in Tucson, Arizona area in the middle of nowhere in this home. And there were signs of forced entry. There were Nest cameras that were destroyed and smashed and taken from the scene. There was blood evidence found on the front steps of her home. DNA analysis has shown that it is, matching the other Savannah's mother. And what's really sad and scary now is that as of today, news reports are indicating that her son-in-law is a prime suspect in this investigation. Now, she was last dropped off at her home by her other daughter, Savannah's sister Annie, and her husband, presumably. And this guy's name is Tosamo Chioni. I don't even know if I said that right, but he is a prime suspect right now, and he's married to Annie, who is Savannah's sister. I mean, how crazy. And there have been talks of ransom notes. The sheriff's office out there is putting up, these messages on social media with these QR codes asking for any types of tips or information, no matter how insignificant. They're being kind of tight-lipped as to the details, but what we do know is that now this son-in-law is a prime suspect. And also, I don't know if I just said this, but the sister, Annie, Savannah's sister, her car has been impounded. So that right there to me is not good for the sister and the son-in-law, because why would the car be impounded? There's got to be something going on where they are looking into it. We just don't know the details yet. So I just really think that all this is absolutely terrible. I mean, an 84-year-old woman kidnapped. I mean, there are so many sick people out there. Kidnappings and murders and all that is bad enough. But whenever you hear anything about a kidnapping, if it involves a child or an older adult, your mind really, really gets messed with, because those are people who are the most vulnerable in our population. And apparently Savannah's mother is on daily medication that she needs to stay alive and keep healthy. And not only that, but I read that she has mobility issues and that she can't even be walking 50 yards without assistance. So I don't know, like the way that they're reporting it, the reports that I've seen, like on outlets like Long Crime Network and News Nation, they're saying that there are forced signs of break-in, and the sheriff's office is providing information. And the one to me that's a little bit telling and scary is that there were signs of forced entry, not only in the front door, but the back door as well. And to know that it happened in the middle of the night the way that it did, because apparently Savannah's mother, Nancy, and I just realized I haven't said her name before now. Her name is Nancy. She was wearing an Apple Watch, and her Apple Watch, which was synced to her pacemaker, her Apple Watch and her iPhone were left at the home at the time of this alleged abduction. So I don't know. I hear stuff like that, and unfortunately, I'm apt to believe that the son-in-law probably did have something to do with it, in my opinion. I mean, time will tell, as soon as we find out more stuff about this case, but I mean, it doesn't really look good. And some people are saying that they always go to the intimates. They always go to the family members first whenever there's kidnappings or horrible crimes, murders, things like that. They have to investigate those closest to the victim. But I don't know. I'm feeling that the sheriff's office probably knows a lot more than they're letting on right now. A lot of times they know a lot. They're just not saying a lot because they don't want the suspect out there. If they're watching, media reports and they're listening, they don't want them to know how much they know because they could do things. They could cover their tracks better. They could destroy evidence. There's so many things at play. I just feel so sad and sorrowful for Savannah. And, my prayers go out to her. She went on social media and she asked for prayers as well. I've seen some people saying, why hasn't she made a statement? Why isn't she speaking out more? And I'm thinking to myself, what else do you want the woman to do? Her 84-year-old mother has just been kidnapped. I mean, do you want her to hold a press conference and cry on television and make it all crazy and sensational? No, I mean, she's already taken leave from her job. She's not going to be reporting on the Winter Olympics. She's already gone on social media asking for prayers and, requesting that her mother be brought back. I don't understand what you want her to do. She's doing the right thing. She's doing the dignified thing. She's probably working behind the scenes with law enforcement, trying to assist them any way she can. They're giving support to her family members, everything she needs to do. I guess think about it. If there's stuff going on behind the scenes and this son-in-law really is the prime suspect, she's probably working with law enforcement behind the scenes trying to figure out his involvement. And this isn't really a fun time for her. Like, what do you want her to do? Make Instagram posts and it's stupid. It's stupid. Just leave people alone. Let them process in peace. Let them figure out what's going on. I'm sure we will hear about what's happening. Pray to God that it will be a good outcome. Pray to God that God will bring Nancy back safely and soundly to her family, and that whoever is responsible for this gets their just desserts. Because I'm sorry, that is a whole different kind of unspeakable evil. When you mess with kids, when you mess with animals, when you mess with older people. Hearing this story, my 86-year-old mom lives with us, and I just had all kinds of nightmares thinking, what would I do? How would I cope? Like, to have your mom, who is in her mid-80s, vulnerable, someone that you are very close with. Like, apparently Savannah and her mother Nancy are extremely close. I mean, I can't even imagine what Savannah is going through right now. I can't imagine what I would be going through. I would be climbing the walls, acting like a freaking lunatic, So just give Savannah some peace. Like, some of these people are just really annoying, like saying, why isn't she saying anything? Why isn't she doing anything? It's like, what would you do in that situation? You know what I mean? The only thing that I wanted to bring up that I was thinking about when I was watching some videos on YouTube, and they were showing an aerial shot of Nancy's neighborhood, Savannah's mom's neighborhood. It was just very creepy to me that the entire neighborhood, it just looks very remote. Apparently, it's a very dark area. There's not that many streetlights. It just looks like that kind of barren desert landscape. And it's like these big lots with these homes on them, and they're kind of scattered all around. And when I was looking at those aerial shots of the neighborhood, it reminded me of the neighborhood that Jody Hildebrand lived in. That whole Ruby Frankie garbage nonsense. Like those types of weird, isolated desert neighborhoods. And the only thing that I was thinking of was, why was Nancy, an 84-year-old woman with mobility issues, living alone out there in a neighborhood like that? That is the only thing that kind of gave me a cause for pause. Kind of like, why was she out there alone? Because, by all accounts, yes, I'm sure she was independent enough to be able to live alone, but still, the age of 84, I mean, so much can happen when you're that age. Just a simple getting up in the middle of the night to go pee in the bathroom. You can fall and break your hip, and then, what are you going to do? I don't know. That was the only thing that didn't really sit well with me. The fact that she was alone in a house like that in a remote area. I don't know. I mean, calling emergency services or calling police, how long would it take for them to get there? Part of me is like, a coyote from the foothills could probably get to your front door quicker than an ambulance could in an area like that. So that was the only thing that kind of made me just recoil a little bit, because it just looked creepy to me. But maybe it's just me because my mom lives with us and, with our family. And that's my perspective, that anyone of that age group, I wouldn't want living alone anyway. But I mean, who knows? Maybe Nancy is fiercely independent and, told her daughters that she didn't want to live in a more densely populated area. Who knows? It seemed a little too kind of creepy out there and remote for my taste. But yeah, anyway, moving on. So I've been playing with this thing. Have you guys seen the stories out there about these Nido Nice Cubes? This is my daughter's. I bought my daughter one of these, and this is my son's. He hasn't even opened it up yet, but this is what this thing looks like. It's a Nido Nice Cube. It's like those little stress ball things. Kids love them. Kids love anything that's like this, like slime, squishy stuff. I like it. But here's the thing. Apparently, it's been all over TikTok that there are these kids that are watching these viral videos and taking these cubes and they're sticking them in the freezer, and then they're going from the freezer and then putting them in the microwave and heating them up. And apparently these things can get up to or over 200 degrees Fahrenheit inside after only 15 seconds, and they burst. And when they burst, this stuff is, I don't know exactly what it's made of, something like maltose or maltitol or something. I don't know. Point being, it's like super glue. So if it bursts and explodes, it's like raging hot super glue that then gets on the child's skin and causes second-degree burns. I kid you not. Like, there have been kids. There was a 9-year-old in Illinois that was hospitalized with severe face and hand burns after he put this damn thing in a microwave. There was a 7-year-old, in Missouri who was placed in a medically induced coma after she microwaved one of these things. Apparently it caused severe burns to her chest and her abdomen. And then there was another kid who was like a 7-year-old in Oregon who needed surgery and skin grafting because this thing exploded in his face. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? This is why I don't let my kids have social media. I mean, yes, mind you, these are really, really young kids, 7 years old, 9 years old. My kids are 12, but still, it's like, I don't understand why a parent would allow a child who's 7 years old to have a TikTok account. Yes, I mean, I know you can't keep them from everything, okay? You can't keep them from everything. I don't want to sit here and say that I'm so much better than any other parent out there because I don't allow my kids to have social media and social media profiles like on Instagram and TikTok and all that. But I mean, I read about stuff like this and I'm like, this is just the cherry on the dumpster fire of social media. You know what I mean? And it's like, there's so much out there in the way of social media that is horrible and just like brain rot, horrible, suggestive, awful material that they don't even need to be seeing. And then you've got that. And then you've got stuff like this, like these weird little challenges and little videos where it's like, hey, do these little fun challenges and do this and see what happens. These kids don't have the emotional wherewithal or the mature decision-making ability to look at a video like that and say, that's not something that I want to do. Like a 7-year-old's going to watch a video like that who has a NeoCube and think that that would be something fun to do. I mean, my kids are 12, but I mean, could I see my 7-year-old son or my 7-year-old daughter watching a video like that, maybe thinking it's a good idea and trying it? I mean, who the heck knows? I'm just glad that I don't let them go on this crap, on these platforms, on all of this garbage. But point being, I just thought it was crazy because I have this in my house. I like to, when I'm editing videos or like I'm taking notes or doing stuff, like I'll sit there and play with, I'll sit there and play with this cube. I just read this story this morning and I'm like, as soon as my kids walk in the door today after school, I'm going to show them the pictures and the news stories about this and be like, don't get any ideas. Don't you ever get any ideas. If you hear people talking about this at school, do not do this. Like, do not do this. It's crazy. It's just one more thing to worry about. So if you have a child in your life, a young teenager, a kid who is on TikTok, who has these types of squishy, slimy, weirdo toys, it doesn't even have to be this brand, but spread the word, okay? Because this is freaking nuts. This is craziness. So Anyway, that's all I got for you today. Don't microwave your Nido little nice cube in the microwave, okay? That's my little public service announcement for the day. And just know that there's tons of happy people over at Netflix getting some yummy spread and coffee and wine, and they're getting it for free. So they're really, really happy. And let's hope that Susanna's mother, Nancy, is found safe and sound, and whoever is responsible for this kidnapping is behind bars and, punished to the fullest extent of the law, as is Andrew, if he is indeed found to be guilty of criminal charges regarding this latest claim going on. Because I'm telling you, so many of us are sick of all these crazy freaking fools out here causing all kinds of havoc. Can we just be normal? Can we just be normal and drink our coffee and tea in peace without being inundated on the daily with all these crazy ass stories? But yeah, that's all I have for you guys right now. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What do you think of all these news stories that I've talked about in this episode of the little coffee chat? It's just crazy. All these stories come out so fast. Literally, by the time I figure out what I want to talk about and then I film it and then I edit it, it's like the story's changed or there's another story. It's just crazy. But I have been working on the very last episode of my Errol Flynn Slept Here series. It's episode 13. It is a really, really good one. If you haven't caught on to my Errol Flynn Slept Here series, I would so love it if you would. There's so many other things on this channel that I like to talk about. And if you love a good story, if you love a good ghost story, if you just want to take a break from all this madness, go watch that playlist. I'm telling you, anybody who has gotten into that playlist writes in the comments, oh my gosh, where has this playlist been? Why doesn't it have more views? This is really, really good stuff. So give that a look. I will link it somewhere or in the description. Thanks guys. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.